today's episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat. I'm Karen Scott Green.
And I'm Kat Hardrick.
And we have with us today Maria Uribe, who is the manager of donor relations with Junior Achievement USA.
Welcome, 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 Maria. How are you?
I am doing so well, just matching your energy, Karen and Kat. Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm so glad we finally got you,
I
girl, because you
know.
are a traveler. You are always in the streets doing work. Can you please tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, manager of donor relations for Junior Achievement USA. What does that mean, right? It's just a title, but what it really means at the heart of it is I have the privilege and pleasure of being that in between, that conduit between our amazing area field office teams like Junior Achievement of Georgia. They've got a great office in the Gwinnett area, but just like JA of Georgia, there's 102 other JA area offices across our country that are doing that amazing work. JA is the largest education nonprofit focusing on supplemental education. So think about financial literacy, those skill sets that are really going to bridge the entrepreneurship pathway and work in career readiness, because we know that labor and education and building thriving communities are so intertwined. And so many communities across our country that are running these amazing programs through Junior Achievement. And I've got the privilege and pleasure of being that, again, conduit in between our amazing donors, corporations that have great CSR initiatives, foundations that are looking to engage in philanthropic work, and again, those amazing area field offices that are doing the work, boots on the ground, working with our local school systems, our local educators, and bridging those programs.
So now, does Junior Achievement have, are you particularly, do they focus or do they have an emphasis on communities of color? Is
Diverse groups.
Diverse groups, is that a particular interest for Junior Achievement, or do they work in all communities?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our particular interest is education and children, right? And that's across the board. I'll put it to you like this. If I'm a student of an affluent family and I go out and, in the first year of my first job, I'm making six figures plus. I don't know how to manage those funds. I could go into bankruptcy just the same, right? So that's just an example of when we talk about building thriving communities, we really do have to address it as a society at large, right? We all have a role to play. Now, with that being said, we're very proud that year over year, 50% or more of our students come from high free and reduced lunch receiving school populations, because that is important to us. It is important that we reach every student, but particularly those students that if we didn't reach them, this amazing information, what comes from economic empowerment, would otherwise not happen, right? And so we do have a vested interest in resources and ensuring that our programs are accessible across the board. One more thing I'll say about that is, for example, language, right? So we're working with an organization now to translate all of our volunteer material into Spanish. We've done that with a few programs on the student side, but we understand that when we talk about mentors, having mentors that speak the language as well bridges our communities a little bit different. So that's another investment that as an organization we're undergoing, to say, when we talk about access of these programs and we say we want everybody to be included, we really need to have forth the infrastructure and the whereabouts of making sure that we're being true to that promise.
That's really important too. I know that that's an initiative with the with Gwinnett County, considering I don't know if the statistics, check me if I'm right or wrong, that Gwinnett County is one of the most diversified counties.
Yes, it is.
Is it in the state, right?
In the country.
Okay,
in the country.
right. So so we definitely need to address making sure we have literature to cross all of those languages that represent our beautiful country, county and country, right? So how do you get your clients, your community? How do you reach out to those individuals and let them know that Junior Achievement exists?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So what we like to do on the JA side of things and in the JA world, right? We've been around for 100 years, and we often say there's two reasons for that. One of them is what I just said, right? Our model is mentorship based. So through Junior Achievement USA, in 2021-2022 academic year, we reached 3.3 million students. It's a lot of youth that we're impacting across this country.
This is nationwide?
Nationwide, US only, 3.3 million. Across the board, we are a worldwide affiliate. So Junior Achievement Worldwide does operate in 100 countries. From a worldwide lens, we did over 12 million youth impacted, right? And this is all being done. We're a nonprofit, absolutely no charge to the students, family, parents. It's all being done through partnerships with school systems, with schools themselves, sometimes private charter, and again, the private sector. So I think what I really want to emphasize here are a couple of things to your question, Kat. From the pandemic and onward, we have seen actually an increase in philanthropic giving, which is my world, right? Resource generation is really where I live and breathe. And so since the pandemic, we've seen significant 5+ a year in giving going up. Now, the bulk of that giving is still coming through individual giving, which is the bulk of philanthropic giving. It usually comes from individuals first and foremost, but we're also seeing that increase across the CSR, corporate social responsibility initiatives with corporations, ESG, environmental social governance programs across organizations, and then D&I, right? They want to activate their people. They want their employees to go back into their communities. So through all of these initiatives that have come forth through the social injustice movement, through the pandemic, philanthropy is actually at an all-time high. Here's what people don't talk about, which is what I want to talk about with you guys because I think it's so important. Boardrooms, advisory boards, boards of directors, boards of trustees, right? We have seen an increase in that, right? And that's what people are not really talking about. Because when you think about nonprofit strategic visions, when you think about a president or an executive director that's going to lead that organization onward, well, all of that gets appointed through a board, right? And we often talk about the mission, and we often talk about fundraising, and we often talk about leadership. What we don't get to is the board and their power and their responsibility, right? And so there was a Forbes podcast. There's many Forbes podcasts, but there was one in specific, and I'll send it to you guys. Maybe you guys can link it for your people. But it talks about the increase in growth and in board appointment at the young professional level. And it's more inclusive now than it's ever been, right? Because before it was typically C-suite executives. So there was a barrier to entry, if you will, for young people of color, women, to marginalized groups to be in these positions, to be around these tables, making strategic directions, including appointing the leadership, executive directors, presidents, CEOs, right? And so when we're seeing this trend, we're seeing it in philanthropy. We're seeing it across nonprofits, the importance of boards, the resources that a board can bring, and so forth and so on. So I'd love to hone in our conversation, because with philanthropy, we can go in all different ways. But I think as a young professional, I just turned 30, thinking about, as a young professional, if you see something going out in the world, right, that you don't necessarily agree with, if there is some sort of social injustice, or in your own community, you see a need and you think, who's doing something about it? And then you think, well, I went and read to that school now a couple times, because maybe the issue is literacy, and I don't know that that's making that big of a difference, right? Me volunteering my time, going out. So what's the other step I can take, right? A lot of people think, do I have to go out and start a nonprofit? Because that seems like a lot of work. I have a family, I have friends, I have a life. I don't want to be.
There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Somebody else is already doing that work.
No need to reinvent the wheel is right. So as a young professional, especially having no experience with boards, right? My parents didn't, that's not something that I grew up with. I didn't have the vernacular. I wasn't informed in terms of, again, not just the awesome opportunities that come with being a board member, but the fiduciary duties that come with being a board member, right? The legal precedents and documentation that comes with it as well. And so that's where I really think that, to your audience especially, we can say, regardless of who you are, what your education level is, if you care and you're in that in between, I don't know that volunteering my time is enough, but I also don't want to commit and be this leader that's just going to take this cause full on board. Be a board member. Join a board. I really do think that when we can start thinking about it that way and thinking about the roots of these organizations, then we're getting at something that a lot of people talk about, but it's really hard to get right, which is systemic change.
You know, you bring up a very good point, because in a marginalized community, board member may not even be a discussion point, because people are not aware that these things
even exist.
Right.
Yes.
So that's why I'm glad you're bringing it up and you're tapping on that very important piece, because I've never thought about being a board member. Now, I volunteered with Junior Achievement many years ago through a corporation that I work with in the finance industry, and I learned about it through them. But unless you are in it, around executives, around people, that
you
word
don't even know
board
that's
member,
an option.
You don't even know. You just think I'm just supposed to go volunteer because I do want to see a difference in my community, but I don't want to start a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Who has time? I got 10 kids, 3 jobs. Who has that?
But we also need the volunteers as well.
We do.
Because there's more opportunity to volunteer than there is to be a board member.
Correct.
So while that's great, and folks should be aspiring to be volunteers, I mean, to be board members as well, we want to see folks volunteering, because we need the boots on the ground. We need people who are going into the classrooms. We need people who are going to work with young folks. So tell us about some of the opportunities that someone like Kat or I could fulfill with urban. I was about to say Urban League. Oh my goodness, Junior League, Junior Achievement. My mind is everywhere.
Absolutely. And so I do want to point out that being a board member, sitting on a board, right, it is a form of volunteerism. It's thought leadership. You're also a lot of times paying board dues. So it's not just that you're volunteering your time to be there, you're also volunteering your money, right, in a lot of ways. And so I don't mean to hone in and have our conversation be around boards and the way that they work, but I do think it's an important conversation to really digest on, in terms of just your traditional volunteerism. Absolutely. We have volunteer opportunities year round all across the board. Very, very excited and proud to say this. Actually, this is hot off the press. You guys are getting a little bit of an exclusive. This came in last week.
I know, right?
Our worldwide affiliate, so JA, Junior Achievement Worldwide, has now been recognized for a second time in a row because of our volunteerism efforts across the board and our amazing programs. We've been nominated for a second time for a Nobel Prize, which is extraordinary.
That is.
And absolutely. And what we're hearing from the broader, world, if you will, is one, we're one of the highest mobilizers of volunteerism across the world, which is a really big deal. Absolutely. We're across the board, we're seeing about 24 million contact hours with students, and that's educators and volunteers combined. So that is a really big deal for us to say that we're one of these organizations that's really making a difference. With that, we also partner with Points of Light, which you guys know is out of here in Atlanta. So Points of Light, through the Bush administration, back when George W. Bush was president in the early 2000s, they started the Volunteer Presidential Awards. And so it's been a really great thing that has continued in bipartisan administrations, where what essentially it recognizes these awards nonprofits. So if you're a nonprofit out there and you're listening to this, you can receive credentialing, and you can bestow this honor upon your partners. But essentially, you get authorized as a nonprofit to bestow this presidential honor upon your volunteer partners. And what it measures is, as an organization or as an individual, did I meet certain thresholds? So at Junior Achievement, we have bronze, silver, and gold.
Mm-hmm.
And what that recognizes is our corporate community association partners who have reached a certain amount of volunteer hours thresholds as a company, as a unit, and they get recognized for that. So bronze is 5,000 hours. So all of your people combined volunteered with Junior Achievement and delivering a program worldwide. So we do work with our worldwide affiliates for this. At 5,000 hours or more as an organization is how much you give back to JA programming. That's bronze. Silver is 10,000 hours. And then gold is 15,000 hours. So we have a number of organizations that get recognized every year. This year, we're holding those awards in DC this summer. And so we have amazing foundation and global CSR heads come and receive these awards, and we have a panel, and it's a great celebration of what makes this country so great, which is if something is going wrong in my community and I can do something about it, 80% of us will do it. And you're like, Maria, where are you getting this stat? I'm making it up. I'm making up the stat, but I do think that 8 out of 10 people, right, the majority of people are going to see something wrong and they're going to try to do something about it. And so I think at Jay, we really capitalize on that and say, not only do we have these amazing at a high level volunteer opportunities for you to come be a thought leader and help set the vision for Junior Achievement as a board leader, but we also have these amazing opportunities for you to give back, whether it's a few hours during your lunch break or an entire day going into a Jay Discovery Center like the one that's in Gwinnett out of Lawrenceville. We want you to come in and be a part of those programs. I'll share with you guys a story. I'll give you guys the link to the video and just to share how important this is, because I really do think it's so important. I had the pleasure of having coffee with this gentleman. I was in Vegas last month or January, and I had the pleasure of having coffee with him. And I can attest he is just this phenomenal human who really, really cares about community and cares about doing his work with integrity. His name is Michael Crome. He is the CFO of the Las Vegas Raiders. So Michael Crome is a Black man, and he attributes a lot of his career path to his early impact with Junior Achievement. And so growing up, there's a video he did, a Jay My Story video, where it's a 2-second or 2-minute clip where he tells his story. But growing up, he says he didn't have a lot of male Black figures who were doing, really great things in their lives. And so he has this Junior Achievement volunteer come into his classroom, and he goes, I can't even tell you what they taught me because I don't remember. I don't remember the lessons.
You remember the connection,
but man, was he dressed to the nine. Man, did he know what he was talking about, and he was in finance. And so for Michael, that kind of stuck with him, this idea of Black excellence in finance, right? And now he's the CFO of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Wow.
So when we talk about mentorship and we talk about our volunteer opportunities, yes, it's about the program and it's about bringing forth this amazing, information to a young person and empowering them that way. But we don't think of ourselves as charity that way. We think of ourselves in terms of philanthropy, because philanthropy goes a step further. Philanthropy says, we're going to help you for the long run so that you can have a better quality of life. Right. And that's what happened to someone like Michael, where they came across this opportunity. And again, the content was great, but he doesn't even remember the content because the mentorship, the connection. And I think, Karen, you just said it as well. That connection can be so powerful. And sometimes you see it in that person's eyes, right? You see it in that 8th grader, high schooler's eyes right then and there. And you go home and you feel good about it. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes it may take that young person a couple months to simmer with it. It may not come back for a couple years for them to simmer with it. But please, please know that when you give back to junior achievement, whether again, it's through a high level thought leadership volunteer commitment, or you're going into one of our classrooms, one of our discovery centers, please know that you are getting in front of a young person and their brains are so malleable at those ages.
Absolutely.
And they are looking for those mentors, for that opportunity, for that spark of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And you
That's
really
right.
can, regardless of what your backdrop is, whether you went to school or not, whether, you have this awesome career, whatever's happening on in your own life, I would just say to you, put it aside for the hour or two or the day that you're spending with these young people in a junior achievement program. Be fully present.
Yes, absolutely.
You might just be inspired by what these young people have to say. Really, they're extraordinary people all around, and here in Gwinnett, I mean, just extraordinary bright people.
Absolutely. Several things you mentioned that I like. One in particular, I love how you celebrate the individuals who have reached your different tiers, silver, bronze, and so gold. And I love that because sometimes people do need to be appreciated with all of the work and the hours that they put into it. And you put emphasis on that because it's an incentive also. It encourages people to continue to do it. And to me, I think we need to elevate and highlight more of the grassroots human connection where we pour back into one another. Not to say that technology and infrastructure and all that stuff isn't important, but the human connection,
human portion,
is, our human capital is the most important to me. And so I like how junior achievement at least takes the time to say we value, and you go to DC and do it. I mean, you make a really big deal of it. And I think that's so important. And that's why we need to get more people, because you don't need a lot of time. You just need to make sure you devote the time that you have and be present in the moment.
And it also lets the volunteers know that junior achievement values their contribution to the program.
Right.
And so while people don't volunteer for the attaboys, the attaboys are great to let people know we do appreciate and we see the work that you're putting in with these young people. And we want to let you know you're doing a great job.
That's right. Do you do any type of celebration for the young people as they progress through the programs? And can you speak a little bit about the types of programs that you guys offer to the young folks?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a K through 12 organization. So we see youth all the way from, kindergarten to high school, and really proud to say this summer, our board of directors voted. We've been around for over 100 years, engaging with these age groups, but for the particular time that we're in now, and you guys can attest to this, young people are going through some really, really difficult situations with going back from the pandemic, with some of the mental health concerns that have come about, that the pandemic has just exacerbated. Our school systems and the way that our school systems need to be supported is a little bit different. And then really bridging that, what happens between a school system and a higher ed jump? And how do we enable youth for that, right? And so our board of directors, again, long-winded way of saying, they have voted to extend junior achievement programming into the 18 to 25 space, and thinking about you as 18 to 25 as well.
Yeah.
It's going to take us a few years to really jump into that space, because we really need to understand how to bridge that market. What does a young person need in that age group? I can share with you guys, for example, the word junior does not resonate with that age group. They do not like that, right? They do not like to be called junior. So that's just a very clear and concise example of what we're up against here. But we do think that we can provide a lot of support in that age group. But for the time being, K through 12, our programs, like I said, we have 3 pillars: entrepreneurship, work and career readiness, and financial literacy. So with that financial literacy pillar, we're trying to bridge what is not being taught in classrooms. So think about it like personal finance, right? How to do a budget, how to go out and take a loan, your debit versus credit. If you do have a loan, how do you pay it back, right? Because there's questions.
Checkbook, right?
How to balance a checkbook. We have programs around how to become an informed investor. It's all of our information is around this topic is very much 101. It was built with instructional designers, with subject matter experts, with economists. So I mean, we went through the process of building curriculum just the way it's meant to be. But that's an example of something that we're doing and bridging in that space. In the work and career readiness space, thinking about pathways, thinking about introducing our students to what it means, not just to be a part of a working economy, but to be a responsible citizen, right? If you go to our BizTown in Gwinnett, for example, in that Discovery Center, what does it mean to be to have that civic duty and that civic responsibility, right? That's part of that curriculum as well, and something that, again, does not get taught in a classroom from a traditional sense. And the other scope with that as well, with work and career readiness specifically, teaching students how to do what we're doing right now, which is should not be taken lightly. Soft skills. Collaboration, communication, being able to engage in an interview, being able to talk to someone that you don't know, being able to spark up a conversation, right? Those are all things that we're teaching. And then from an entrepreneurship standpoint, saying to young people, if you want to go the higher ed route, that's great. You can do that, right? If you want to go the technical school route, that's great. You can do that. If you want to go direct to just launching your own business, you can do that. And if at any point in your work career, in your career journey, any of those change, you can do that too. Right?
You can do all of the above.
That's right.
Are boundless. These opportunities are boundless. And we just want to give you the skill set and the mindset for you to act on what your talents are, what what you already have. And so
absolutely,
from an entrepreneurship standpoint, the great campaign that we have going that all of you can engage in across the country is a partnership that we have with the UPS store. So the UPS store is the retail arm of UPS. I have the privilege and honor of being the donor relations lead on this one as well. We are in every UPS store location across the country. That's over 5,000 UPS store locations, where they are running a cause marketing campaign, a big fundraising campaign for junior achievement. So they're asking their customers, would you like to give $1, $3, or $5? A lot of really great things about this campaign, but the biggest one here is whatever is raised in a JA area. So for example, JA of Georgia encompasses the entire state of Georgia. Every cent that is raised in the entire state of Georgia through this campaign, 100% of the funds go back to JA of Georgia. So nothing stays with the UPS store, nothing stays with JA USA. It all goes back to the JA area where the funds were raised. So if you are in a UPS store and you get that prompt, 1, 3, or 5, whatever is in your heart or in your pocket or in your ability to give, we are inviting you to be a part of this awesome campaign. We're inviting you to give back and know that it may go back to your student being able to participate in these programs. It may go back to, you don't even know it, a friend of yours is student, your neighbor.
To
participate.
So I've got to use the UPS store for more than just dropping off Amazon.
That's right.
So it's one that we're really excited about. We started this partnership in 2022. We fundraised from August to December. That was our first fundraising period. And we raised $1.6 million supporting 101 JA areas across our footprint. So 101 JA areas got funding from this program. And we are just so thankful to everyone that donated via this campaign in 2022. We are so excited to come back strong in 2023 It's open as of February 1st. We're fundraising again for a 2023 period. We're hoping to increase the fundraising. So if you do give, know that you're contributing towards, we said right now our bar is 1.6 million nationwide. Can we do more? And so we've opened it up a little bit sooner in 2023. But if you want to contribute to that a little bit more, please know it's going direct to youth. It's going towards funding entrepreneurial programs, because the UPS store is an entrepreneurial model.
Okay.
All of those stores are owned by franchisees, except for the test kitchen that they have in San Diego. And so the program is called Start Small, Grow Big. We have gotten some national press around it. It's been a great success. And here in Georgia, I'm excited to say Georgia, because I live in Peachtree Corners, Gwinnett, raised the most out of all of the J areas across the board.
Right.
Oh, brush your shoulder off, girl. All right.
Go Georgia. They did not have the most stores. There were other areas that had more stores within their footprint. However, it still pulls it off. So to all the UPS stores in Georgia, to everybody that donated in the state of Georgia, to all the great youth, the Gwinnett youth included, that will benefit from this great campaign. We're really excited, and thank you.
Girl, that's good. And it's not everybody gives 100% of the money back.
This is true. So there's no overhead costs coming out of that. I love that. But if you're someone like me who very seldom goes into a UPS store, and when I do, I'm just dropping off. Is there a website or some other method that they would be able to donate to Junior Achievement? I don't know why I want to say Junior League, because you said Junior League the other day, and I've been saying it's been in my head.
Junior Achievement.
Absolutely. If you ever want to give to a Junior Achievement office, you can go to their website. They have links all over their websites to give.
Okay.
There's also amazing campaigns in your local J area throughout the year. They have bowl-a-thons, they have galas, they have auctions, just extraordinary ways to continue to give back to your communities. And then the last thing I'll say is, if you're listening to us and you're like, wow, these programs sound great, this is amazing, wish I had this in my school, right? Maybe we don't have this in my school yet. So if you are looking to get engaged with Junior Achievement Program and you don't have it in your school today, reach out to your local J office. Go to jgeorgia.org. Karen and Kat, I'll provide you guys with all of these links, but you guys can send them out or put them in the comments. Reach out. They are always looking for more ways to get involved and plugged into the community. Now, sometimes because of bandwidth or territory, we might not be able to get to you in person. No worries. We have a ton of supplemental resources where you can go in and look through our free resources online. And we have K through 12 resources. We have resources for educators that you can do on your own time. Or if you're a parent, you can give this app to your kid and know that, while they're spending time on screen, it's not going towards a social media. They're actually learning through these apps, because there was mythology and pedagogy that we go into when we're developing these.
I love it.
I know, right? Get out my head.
So my Junior Achievement story was when I was in high school. I was in 10th grade, so that was 30 plus years ago. And so in 10th grade, I had an economics class, and as part of the economics class, our teacher brought in Junior Achievement, and so the students had to start businesses. So my group, and then we had to sell stock to raise money. So we had these Junior Achievement stock, and we had to sell the stock to raise the money for our business. So my group sold the stock, and we bought these plastic containers, and we filled them up with candy. I don't remember if it was jelly beans or whatever. And we sold the candy. So we had to be responsible for knowing how much our product was going to cost and making projections as to how much we were going to sell. And so we had a whole little business model, because we had to turn in a business model to the teacher of how we were going to do this and how much stock we were going to offer and what we were going to sell it for. So it was a really good experience in learning some very fundamental things about like starting a business. So and I still remember that to this day.
See,
and just
huge
and the
impact.
market, and you know, the way that you're talking about this to this day, how long ago is that?
38 years ago.
See, that's the light bulb that I was talking about.
Yep.
Sometimes it does happen instantaneously.
Mhm.
Sometimes, you
Mhm.
know, it stays with you for many, many, many years to come. In Gwinnett specifically, what I will say, and you know, I'm fortunate that I once upon a time was in that office every day almost, right? So the way that that office runs is they need volunteers from the time school starts all the way till the time school ends. And then they
Oh,
run a
wow.
summer camp. And so the
Mhm.
summer camp is really neat because of a couple of reasons. So in that Discovery Center out of Lawrenceville,
Mhm, mhm.
alone, I mean, they have other centers. They have one in Atlanta, they have one in Forsyth, they have one in Savannah, and so forth and so on. But in Gwinnett alone, they see 5,000 volunteers a year to have that place
Whoa,
running.
Wow.
That's a lot
Wow.
of volunteers,
that
right?
is.
And so that's just the Discovery Center. In Gwinnett, we also are in a few high schools with the 3DE
Mhm.
by J program, which is part of the business 3D schools pathway, if you will. So we're in Mountain View, we're in Parkview, we're in Norcross, we're in South Gwinnett. And that
Okay.
program also utilizes volunteers and is a really amazing model. We're pioneering something in Gwinnett that you guys, I think that's going to win us the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm not kidding, because it's just it's so brilliant the way that it, I just get so jazzed, and it's so hard for me to articulate because I
Mhm.
might start crying. Literally, when we think about education and public education, it has not been touched in decades the way we
Right.
Okay.
teach.
Okay.
Decades. Okay. And so when we think about instructional design, when we think about attention spans, when we think about particularly students that don't get this reinforced in the home, that's where you see a lot of youth feeling hopeless about education, not seeing the
Mhm.
relevancy. Why am I learning this? How am I going to use this? Not seeing the, okay, this is a method or a pathway for me. And so
Yes.
what 3DE by J does, it says, let's turn this instructional model on its head and say, let's throw out everything we know about education at the high school level and
Mhm.
reinvent it with the idea that we have young minds who have attention span problems and
Yeah.
who have screens and things coming for their attention 24/7 left and right. That's what we're competing with as an education entity, right? We're competing for their attention.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so junior achievement knew that we couldn't do this on our own. So what we did is 3DE by JA is now its own independent subsidiary. It lives under
Hmm.
us, but they have their own development team. They have their own president. They have it's their own model, because what they're doing is extraordinary. They're saying, we're going to work with the private sector. We're going to work with
Okay.
companies, and we're going to bring in real world case methodology, and we're going to marry it into
Mhm.
high school. And this is how we're going to keep these students' attention. So, for
Okay.
example, they're partnering with corporations to say, for example, right, the Home Depot, what is a problem you're having right now? Right now.
Mhm.
Okay, well, the Home Depot said, this isn't a real world example. One of our problems right now is that we have a ton of warehouse space. So, all of the things
Mhm.
that would be out on the floor now have a space. So we have this space within our stores now, right? That is kind of
Mhm.
open, because all the stuff that
Mhm.
used to live here is now in our warehouses. So we'd love to reinvent what this space in our stores could do and how it could help us with our bottom line. And we said,
Mhm.
great. We worked with our instructional designers. We this is a made up word that I'm about to say, but we curriculumified their problem, right?
Mhm.
And gave it to our high school students.
And so the
Okay,
students are coming up with solutions.
Right.
correct. Now multiply that times like 20 cases that they do from 9th to 12th grade.
Yeah.
Couple really neat things are happening here, right? They're learning through doing, which is what JA does, but they're also getting to network with
Yeah.
these professionals who are solution driven themselves, right? The best of the best, guys, they compete, and the best of the best actually get put in front of the C-suite executives at the Home
Oh,
Depot
wow.
to
Now you're
present in
looking
front of
at
these
employment.
executives.
Mm-hmm.
So
Let's
talk
talk
about
about
being in
that.
high school
Yeah.
and being in these rooms. Talk about, you know, what this is transformational for a young person. And so there's this amazing young person, and guys, I'm full of stories because I swear, like, I'm a people person and people come with stories. But Apollo,
But that's
young
why we
man.
love you so much.
I appreciate Apollo, who I'm just going to shout out here, and you guys all go look him up on LinkedIn because this kid may be our next president. But Apollo is an amazing example of junior achievement and going through our entire model. So we started in Banneker High School, you guys. This is now a nationwide model. So we are in over 10 states now with this model. But we started in Atlanta, in Georgia, Banneker High School, South Metro Atlanta. It was on the failing list of the state. Okay. It was not the school that you wanted your kid to go to if you had a choice. All right. So we went into that school with a 3D model. We start with the 9th grade and then collectively add a grade until we have a full cohort. It's an opt-in model, right? So all of you parents listening, if this is something that you'd like for your student to take advantage of, again, here in Gwinnett, we are in Mountain View, Parkview, South Gwinnett, Norcross. Gwinnett runs on Pathway. So those are the schools that are offering this business pathway, if you will. But we're down in Banneker. School is not good. Apollo is one of our students in that school. And he has an opportunity to leave at one point, but he's already a 3D student. And so he says, no, I'm going to stay. I love 3D. I'm going to play this out. He graduates and has no one in his family that has gone to college. Okay. But then he graduates and has had the mentorship. He went to the Discovery Center in Atlanta. He went to 3DE in Banneker, and now he's going to Morehouse.
Wow.
And he's a college student, right? And this is a few years ago. All right. Yeah. So Apollo's on stage and he gets asked, what are you looking forward to the most going to Morehouse, right? What are you looking forward to? You're going to be a college student. Way to go. He goes, guys, this was not like we prepped him. This was like literally out of like his own accord. He goes, Morehouse is right down the street from the Discovery Center. And I'm looking forward to coming back here and volunteering and paying it forward.
Wow. Get out of here. Oh, that's beautiful.
Right. And so he's getting ready to graduate. He was just featured as the keynote speaker at the J of Georgia Hall of Fame, where they had a great event. They had Apollo go up on stage and be the keynote speaker for that gala because he's getting ready to graduate Morehouse. And he had to share that he has some amazing opportunities coming his way. He's got a couple offers, I believe, on the table. But talk about someone who is just tenacious, a go-getter. He's going to do some brilliant things, you guys. And that's just one of our kids. But
if you can find a link to his speech, send it to me.
Yeah.
And I'll include it. Yeah. And we need to ask him if he could come on the show so he can inspire some other young people. There you go.
Let's do it.
You got to keep it going. That's right.
I will connect you guys to Mr. Apollo because I'm telling you, that young man is just, I was not that articulate at 20. I'm very good, and I am all the bee's knees and what have you. But man, some of the young people in our network and what they're doing is just extraordinary. And so I'll kind of end it here because you asked, Kat, do we keep up with our alumni? What happens? How do we keep engaged? We do. We run an alumni survey every year where we're trying to understand, okay, you're a J alumni. How is your life panning out differently because of it? And so we have some great stats around, 70% of our youth says, I'm in a career that I went to college for versus 30% of America which is a big deal for us.
Wow. That is.
Overwhelmingly, our youth have said, yep, they're more focused from the beginning and going in with intentionality into college because they've had the avenues to explore all of these different careers. They're also at very big levels more prone to start a business on their own. They're also more prone to being good with their money. So there's a lot of economic empowerment that goes into some of that. And then we also have opportunities for our J alumni to stay engaged and become engaged as young professionals, whether it be as a committee member. We have our worldwide affiliates have a board of alumni, J alumni, who help drive some of the organization from their own experiences. So there's a lot that happens with alumni.
Yes. So it sounds like we have a really big circle, and that I can see why y'all have 5,000 or plus in one location. You know what I'm saying? So I am so glad you came on the show, Maria, because you have given us so much information that we can put out in the community so people can, one, donate with UPS, so they can plug in and get the young people involved, so they can have a support system, because that's definitely what I'm hearing. Not only do you have the 3 pillars, but you guys have a support system. So tell everybody one last time how they can get in contact with you, your website.
Yep. Go Google JA of Georgia, Junior Achievement of Georgia, and you can find your nearest center. There's 6 centers right now across the state supporting, again, with the 3D program. We're all across the state as well. And then that summer camp. So if you're listening, you're a parent. I know, I personally don't have kids, but my sister does. And she starts planning summer camps like yesterday. Right. So there is a summer camp happening at the J Discovery Center in Lawrenceville. 10 to 14 years old is the age group. If you have volunteered with Junior Achievement, you get a discount code. If you haven't volunteered and don't have the means for your child to attend, please reach out to us. We're always wanting to work with you, support you. So if you are one of those families that maybe just needs that extra scholarship, whether it's this season for whatever reason or for seasons to come, let us know. We don't want your student to miss out on this great opportunity where we dive deeper into these concepts for a week-long summer camp. So that's available to you and the community as well.
Awesome. Right. Ooh, girl, thank you so much.
So much, Maria.
You really got it,
appreciate educating us on Junior Achievement and the programs that you have to offer,
and bringing up an old memory.
So I guess I'm a
J alumni. We may need a Karen J in my story. Let me tell you, maybe I should connect you to my J USA people.
That's right.
Yeah, Mr. Michelson was my economics teacher. I remember that.
She remembers Mr. Michelson and everything. Look at that.
A really dry sense of humor. I remember that too.
Well, you guys come and tour the J Discovery Center in Lawrenceville anytime if you're not familiar with it and you just want to check it out. You're not quite ready to volunteer. Karen and Kat, the invitation is open to you. Come and see it. Come and tour. And if you like it, great.
Maybe we can do a shoot there.
You always try.
I'd love to. Open invitation. Come and check it out. Well, you guys are wonderful. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat.
Well, we are impacting the world one conversation at a time.